Were starting with a short pass from the goal kick in the first phase. Italy's frontmen were ready to press the centre backs when the ball was active, so the centre backs were getting forced back pass to the goalkeeper. In the first phase, England were using double pivots. They were being marked man to man, and England's fullbacks were being covered by Italy's wide midfielders. So the goalkeeper was attempting the long balls. In open play, England were using double pivots, which were Declan Rice and James Ward-Prowse. Italy were in 4-4-2 formation in open play. Italy's frontmen were ready to press the centre-backs, but England's centre-backs were split, and as a result, Italy's front two were not pressing the centre-backs dedicatedly, so England were able to rotate the ball easily. In open play, England were using double pivots and they were split. England's fullbacks were pushing high and they were in a straight line with the pivots. So Italy's frontmen were unable to cover the passing lane of centre backs and fullbacks, and pivots had two passing options horizontally and vertically. Italy's front two was central, so England's fullbacks were free on the channel, so wide midfielder was being forced to close down fullbacks. Mount was dropping in midfield. One Italian midfielder was committing on pivot and other was committing on fullback. So both midfielders were out of position and space was being created between the lines for Mason Mount. When Mount was receiving the ball, the centre backs were committing on Mount and Italy's defense was scattered. But Abraham was playing very bad. He was not able to pick up such an advantage. Abraham did not get run behind the defense in this scenario and he held his run and link up with Mount. Maybe if there was another striker, the scene would have been different. Now the centre back was out of position. Mount was moving into half space zone and he was pulling the fullback. Now fullback was 2 versus 1 down and space was building up for Grealish on the flank. England were attacking with front five in final third, with both wingers moving out to in and operating in half space zone, so Italy were getting forced to defend in narrow back four. You can see Italy's narrow back four here. England's fullbacks were free on the flanks as Italy were in narrow back four. Abraham was holding the centre backs, Trippier was wide and dragged the fullback, the half space man was holding the centre midfielder and third man runs were coming. After a while, England changed the strategy. England were using single pivot and the second pivot was drifting wide from the centre and he was playing as a left back. Because of that, England's left back was pushing high and England had an extra man in attack. Italy had 4 midfielders in open play midfield. Because of the 2 midfielders were pressing, the midfield was getting out of position and the English players were ready to receive the ball between the lines. When Italy were starting with a short pass in the first phase, the Italian centre-backs were split alongside goalkeeper. England were pressing with the front three in the first phase, which were Mount, Abraham and Sterling. Abraham was central and pivot was getting covered shadowed by Abraham. After the ball was activated, Mount and Sterling were ready to press the centre-backs and forced to play wide. And when the ball was in the wide zone, Jack and Sterling were high lateral passing to the fullbacks. England's fullbacks were progressive fullbacks. When England had the ball position, fullbacks were pushing very high, and when England were losing the ball position, Italy were getting a lot of space in the wide zone in the transition because England's fullbacks were out of position. In open play, Italy were using single pivot and 2 offensive midfielders, which were operating in the half space zone. England were playing in narrow midfield in open play and Italy's offensive midfielders were marked man to man. So Italy were not able to build the game centrally and Italy were being forced to build the game from wide. Because England's midfield was narrow, Sterling and Grealish were unable to close down fullbacks. So England's fullbacks were being forced to close down Italy's fullbacks and space was being created behind the fullbacks, but Italy were not getting the final output. Fratesi was a consistent threat for England. Grealish and Trippier were covering the winger and fullback and the Fratesi was easily going in behind the defense.